Okay, here's a good one. What should parents do if their kid tells the school counselor that they are gender confused? Now, for you guys that are listening around the world, we live in Washington State. And so what just recently passed, what is it called, 5599 or something like that? So we had this law passed that basically ostracizes parents' rights in their kids' life within the medical system or school counseling system, where they can take kids a certain way as far as sexuality goes and keep the parents uninformed. And so specifically literally this week, I've talked to two people who are now going through this, and they're like, Matt, what do I do?
I would pull my kids, and if I had to, I would move. That's what I would do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You protect your kids. And so that's pretty intense, but I would get them out of that school, get them away from that counselor. And one of the things that can happen in a situation like that is these people who go along with this stuff are crazed. This is not normal. What they want to do is they want to castrate your children, and we're talking about chemical castration with this stuff. The medical processes that they are taking children through, and I'm not even talking about surgical. I'm talking about the stuff where they're doing hormones and chemicals and stuff like that. They can literally make a child sterile for the rest of their life. And so this is people who are into this are crazy. And so, and a lot of times they are agenda driven. And so I don't give people who would do this with another person's child any kind of grace on this kind of thing. I would get my kid away from them as quickly as I can. And if that means taking them out and homeschooling them, or taking them out and putting them in a private school where you know this nonsense isn't going to happen. We have a private school. It will never happen here, not as long as I'm alive. And so you get them out of that. If it becomes a state thing where they're trying to get involved in your family, I would literally move out of state if I was in this situation. Your kid comes first. And so whatever needs to happen to get them out of that situation, they're kids. And these guys can't even make decisions about what their life is going to be in the next 2 to 3 years. It's ridiculous that they're trying to do this kind of stuff with gender confusion. And the reason that they're gender confused is because this stuff is being pushed in the culture, and many times it's being pushed in the schools. And so when you look at this stuff, all you got to do is look at statistics on this stuff. When you're talking about trans people, there are it's less than 1% of the population, and that percentage is going up. And it's not genetic; it's cultural driven. And so I would get my kids away from that. I would get my kids away from that person. And so be praying about it, obviously, and asking God to protect my kid. But I would be proactive in doing this stuff. If my kid is brainwashed, that would make me move. That would make me move. Get him clear away from the whole situation. If I felt my kid was brainwashed in this stuff.
So some of the dynamics that go in this, especially like if CPS is involved, or I've seen other situations where maybe it's a divided marriage or ex-partner, whatever, that has another view. And so when you're in the legality there, how rowdy would you get as far as leaving? And, what if it's, and I know that these are questions you can't really answer because they're situational dependent, but let's say the kid is like, I don't want to go, and you take him and move states. It's like,
yeah, when you're talking about the legal system, there would be situations where I would do exactly that. If I thought my kid was in danger and nobody was looking out for their best interests, but I would know that there's a good chance I'm going to have to pay a cost to that.
Yeah.
And I've known some families that did that and not because of this issue, but because of sexual abuse and that kind of thing that was going on with their kids and the other parent. and literally moved out of state, changed their names, did that whole thing, and in the end, they ended up getting caught, and the kid was given over to that parent, despite the fact that there was all this evidence that these things had gone on.
Right.
And so,
Because they look like the bad guy and that they kidnapped the child, even though they're trying to
yeah.
save him from the carnage.
And so obviously that's all stuff that I would be praying about, but still I would be putting the kid above my my own safety and that kind of thing. And I would be praying and asking God what to do. God could come in and he can take the whole situation and turn it around.
Sure.
And so I would be waiting for him to do that, not with the school.
Right.
I'd get him out of the school immediately. There's nothing illegal about that. And so, if it's a situation where the other parent doesn't want them to go to a private school or whatever, then I would find another school that doesn't have the same kind of crazy counselor, and see if you can get them put in there, and then drive them to school if it's a situation like that. And so I'd be looking at all the legalities and that kind of thing, trying to figure out what I need to do, but I would be putting my kids' needs before my own.
So on a grander topic, when you look at America, the situations that we have going on culturally, politically, morality-wise, Christians and the lifestyle that we're called to live, when it gets to the point where now they're going after my kids, right? And I have a duty as a father. This is pushing it in places where the stances that we do want to make or don't want to make are pretty much getting cemented in. Because there are things that I can give up in my liberties,
right,
and they keep taking. Even, the Second Amendment wars and everything political-wise and voting and all that stuff. But now they're going after our kids.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where the line is being very clearly drawn in the sand.
Yep.
And now it's going to get interesting.
I can't believe that there haven't been more radical confrontations over this kind of stuff. And I'm talking about people getting hurt. I can't believe that it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Because some of the stories that I've heard about these situations, you got people who aren't necessarily Christians who are going through these things, and you could start going after people's kids, and bad things are going to happen. And with some of these situations, there are people who are cowed by the government and worried about their jobs and things like that. And, at some point, it's going to get pushed to the point where people don't care about those things anymore, and they're just going to do what needs to get done in a situation like that. And it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting times.
Yep, interesting times. You want to start a civil war, go after people's kids.